Hi, today I'm going to be making my new and improved Philly cheesesteak. This is going to be really delicious and even better than the first one I made. But anyway, let me show you guys the ingredients that I'm going to be using for this. We're going to be using green peppers, onion, and mushrooms, all that I sliced into thin pieces. We've got some provolone cheese here, sliced pretty thin, and we've got some American yellow, just some of that crappy, gloppy cheddar stuff. So, we've got rolls of bread, we've got Worcestershire sauce, ketchup, and we're gonna, also need some salt and pepper to spice it. So, we've got all the ingredients here, and I'm gonna show you the beginning of the process. First things first, dealing with the steak. Let me get the steak out of the freezer. It's thawed, yes, but I put it in the freezer for a little bit so I can make it easier to cut. So anyway, this is the steak we're using here. I got it from the butcher, and it's pretty good and everything, but I'm going to need to cut it first. So first things first, we're going to want to move this cheese. So I'll put the cheese here on this plate, and I could use a cutting board for the steak. So, yes. So, we move this here. Let's begin cutting the steak. Let me see if there's a good view, just in case. Good. We want to cut this steak at an angle as thinly as possible. So first things first, I'm going to take out the pieces we're going to use, and I'm going to just take basically the obvious large amounts of fat. We want to leave a little bit of fat in it, because it'll be more flavorful and everything, but at least we'll use the large pieces. Okay, so we got our meat cut into very, very thin pieces. I'll even move it up to the camera to show you what I'm talking about here. Really thin, these things. Now it's time to spice it up. So I'm going to put some cracked kosher sea salt, whatever you want to call it, on top, a decent amount, and some pepper. I wish I had my pepper grinder broke, so I have to use this right now until I get a new one. I put a really good amount of pepper, and finally, a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. Just sprinkle it on like this, like that. Maybe about, like half a teaspoon. And we're just going to mix it up just to make sure the salt and pepper get incorporated into all of the meat. And the pieces of fat that we cut off over there, I'm going to be using those too to flavor the oil. It's going to be like a steak flavored oil. It's going to be really good. You'll see what I'm talking about here. So anyway, while we're cooking the veggies and all that, this steak will just be here marinating a little bit. I don't think I want to use olive oil. I think I'd rather use sunflower seed oil, corn oil, to fry. So, first things first, put the pan on the stove. Let it start getting hot and everything. I don't know, put it on here on medium heat basically, and throw some oil down like so, and then on top of that, the fat. We're just going to render this fat down and get the oil out of the fat, and then throw the fat away after. By the way, now that the pan heated up and it's already sizzling, it's about to start popping. Things are about to start popping, so we're going to turn the heat down and basically just slowly melt the fat out. Okay, so we're going to turn the fat over as if it was the steak we were going to eat, but we're not going to eat that because that would be freaking disgusting. But we're going to, cook both sides of the fat just so it imparts its beautiful juices and flavor into the veggies and steak. It's gonna be stupendous. This looks really, really good. Oh, and did I forget that in this, the only difference between this and I guess a cheesesteak you would buy in Philly is that I don't think it's ribeye. It's just like a nice piece of steak. And I put Worcestershire sauce in that. Never seen anybody else do it, but Worcestershire sauce makes things better. And I'm going to put beer in it too, believe it or not. It's going to be really good. So, it's basically time to cook our veggies. Now, that's a lot of fat here, a lot of fat. So, we're gonna use some of this fat to cook the steak in too. Steak doesn't need much fat, but or oil to cook in. And neither do the mushrooms and peppers and onions. Anyway, you know, I basically have enough to coat the pan there. Pour a little bit more. And we'll put this pan to the side, the steak pan. Turn up the heat. Start cooking down the veggies. It's already hot enough. Gonna put these bad boys in. Oh, nice. So we got these 3 little pieces here. Put them in too. And give it a stir, and I'll get back to you when these are cooked down. We want the onions to be translucent. You know, the mushrooms fully cooked. We want the peppers not to be completely soft. We want to hear a little bit of crunch in them, but at the same time, we don't want crunchy peppers. Like, we do want to cook them down a decent amount. You know, we're trying to make this delicious and flavorful and wonderful. So let's just mix these bad boys together. Make sure I get the oil and fat all over every individual piece of onion, mushroom, and pepper. So they're well lubricated, and let's spice them up. Give it a good amount of salt, good amount of pepper. Just like before, just like for the steak. We got our steak sitting here. I cannot wait to cook that down. Okay, so as you can imagine, the peppers, onions, and mushrooms are basically cooked as much as I want them to be. You know, they're not completely soft and everything, but they are going to cook a little bit more with the cheesesteak when I start preparing them. But now time for the cheesesteak. Okay, the pan started smoking, so we're ready to put in the cheesesteak. Put in the steak. Let's throw it on here and start. We'll need a glove if you don't want to put it ourselves. Start moving it and breaking it down. Breaking it into even smaller pieces. That's why this cheesesteak is so tender. It's not the best cut of beef, but it's tender because it's cut into really incredibly thin slices of frizzled beef, shaved beef, and then broken down even more. Basically, they call it frizzled beef, which basically means they call it frizzled beef, which basically means shaved beef, because that's how fucking thin it is. And you know, we're just cooking it and breaking it down, moving it around, breaking it down, cooking, moving around, breaking it down. Comes out really nice that way. Just keep doing this. Breaking it down as you're cooking it. We have it really finely. We almost have it. Throwing some beer. Look at this. We'll basically take the onion mushroom mixture. We're not going to use all of these, so let's take about 3/4 of it. You know, I used a whole pepper, a whole medium-sized onion, well, a whole small onion, a whole pepper. The pepper was pretty small, and maybe 4 or 5 of those shiitake styled mushrooms. Just move this around, and yeah, move it around, just break it down. I can even break the peppers into smaller pieces too, why not? The bread for the sandwiches has to be really, really soft. That's why I keep it in a plastic bag in the cupboard. But anyway, you'll see that this isn't the best bread to use to make Philly cheesesteaks, because there's a big chance it'll break. But I'm still doing it the way I'm going to do it. Even if it does break, it'll be too bad, but what can we do about it? So cut it down, like so. Let's just bring the heat all the way down because the steak is done basically. You know, we're going to move the food to the back of the pan, and we're going to make the Philly cheesesteak at the front of the pan. Now, this is where the magic starts coming in. We have the bread. I'm going to cover the bread up with a towel. And until I use it. So, we got the steak here. Smells orgasmically wonderful. That's wonderful. I'm an asshole. And let's see, like this, like so. We're going to throw on the cheese. The cheese. 1 piece here, a friend for this piece here, a piece here, and a piece there. So, like this. Yeah, 3 pieces and 1 for me. And I'm gonna put the bread, open it up, and throw it on top like so. What's happening here, like I explained before, is the oil from the fat is going into the bread